Hey guys, welcome to episode number 1 of the Finance Ham podcast. I'm Hannah, your host, and if you're here, I'm assuming that you're a Gen Z or maybe a millennial who's sick of feeling like money is controlling your life. Maybe you're in debt, maybe you're trying to figure out how to start investing, or maybe you just want to stop living paycheck to paycheck. And if this sounds like you're in the right place. You're going to love it. Let me tell you what it's all about. Now, this is a podcast about real people who have changed their financial future. It's not about the lucky few who make a way above average wage and invest with that. And it's not about people who inherited a 6-figure business. It's about the ones who made everyday choices that completely shifted their money story, whether that was paying down debt, investing their way to financial freedom, or just living a life where they can jet off to the Bahamas 3 times a year. Now, I'm sure you're probably asking yourself, who the hell is this girl? Why am I going to take money advice from her? So let me give you a little bit of a background on myself. Literally a year ago, I realised that I had slowly racked up over £11,000 worth of debt in less than 10 years. And when I had this moment, I just felt like I could never ever get ahead financially, because I know that some people have a lot more debt than that. But I didn't really have anything to show for it. I didn't have a car on finance, I didn't have a property, I didn't have a load of really expensive possessions that still held their value. I just had a pair of fucking Louboutins that I couldn't walk in because they were so painful. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by money, you're not alone. I've been there, I've felt the panic, and I've done the dumb stuff. A lot of dumb stuff, actually. And if I can change my financial future, then I absolutely promise that you can too. So let's take a deep dive on exactly what stupid decisions I made that got me into £11,000 worth of debt from the age of 18 to 26, and how I got myself out of it. So let's set the scene for you. Hannah is 18 years old. The year is 2016, I think. My maths isn't that good. People are back combing their hair, winged eyeliner is everywhere to be seen, and who would have been top of the charts then? Let me look. Okay, I Took a Pill in Ibiza was the 4th most popular song that year. God, what a banger. And I had been in my apprenticeship for about a year and a half at this point, so rather than going to university and college, I went straight into an estate agency apprenticeship. And what this meant was I had money to spend. My apprenticeship provider was actually really, really generous and just paid me what a junior estate agent would be paid. So thank the Lord for that. Although I say thank the Lord, it would have been great if I knew what the fuck I was going to do with that money. Now, you've got 18-year-old Hannah. She's had a fairly decent wage for a year and a half. At the moment, she's just going to New Look, she's going to Next every single lunch break and buying clothes that will sit in the wardrobe for about 4 months before she ends up deciding that she doesn't like them anyway, and she won't be wearing them. To add fuel to the fire, enter Hannah's second ever boyfriend. Oh my god. Do you know what? I'm not even going to get into what sort of character he was. You know, if being a shitty boyfriend wasn't bad enough, he was also really boring. But to make matters worse, he worked for a high street bank. And he said to 18-year-old Hannah, "Oh, you know what? You should really think about getting a credit card to get your credit score up. Because when you want to buy a house, you're going to need a good credit score." And I was like, absolutely. Fantastic idea. Sign me the fuck up. So I got my first credit card. And at first, this credit card was just going to be for things like petrol. So I would not be using this credit card for clothes, for holidays, for concert tickets, anything like that. No way, because I'm a responsible adult. And let's cut a long fucking story short, guys. Of course, it didn't go that way. I ended up seeing this credit card as an extension of my salary. Say, for example, I got paid, oh my God, we're talking 2016, probably about £1,200 a month, £1,300 a month as a junior estate agent. I saw my £2,000 credit limit just given to me by the bank, never having borrowed money in my life, as an extension of my salary. And oh my God, your girl was living the life. She went to America on a road trip. I was doing these holidays that are once in a lifetime opportunities, like 3-week road trips across America that were costing thousands of pounds. I was just slapping it on the credit card. And do you know what? Part of me is like, go on, girl, live for the moment, have the best time. But the one thing I've learned about living in the moment is that at some point in the future, you're not going to be able to live in the moment because you have to pick up your past mistakes. But anyway, this trajectory went on for almost a decade. And I have a list of things that I purchased on the credit card that were just plain stupid. Not one, but 2 road trips across America. I had a great time though, so I'll allow that. Okay, so I have a list of a few of the things that I spent this credit card money on, and humour me for a few minutes because I was going on holidays that were these once in a lifetime trips, but I was just doing them every single year. And then I bought not 1 but 2 pairs of Louboutins. This credit card would be funding my 18-year-old lifestyle of going out every single weekend, having the best time, don't get me wrong, but everything was just being slapped on the credit card, slap, slap, slap. It's really hard for me to get a complete list of what I spent on my credit card because it would be anything and fucking everything. A little purchase here on Amazon, a little dress that I saw in Next on my lunch break there, a holiday invite with the girls that I really wanted to go on. Yep, no problem, pop that on the credit card. And you can really see kind of how over the years, this grew into over £11,000 worth of debt, and I really had nothing to show for it. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I consider myself pretty financially savvy these days. I look back at that and think, you absolute idiot. One of the things as well I think is really important on your debt journey is to find your problem points. And your girl is a self-development girly. She loves to constantly learn. She loves to constantly educate herself. It takes money to do that, right? You have to buy different courses and whatnot. And I still have this problem. So I just want to put that out there. Even when you get to a point where you feel pretty financially savvy, you need to bear in mind your problem points. Because my problem points are these courses. And over the years, I totted up that I probably spent about £7,000 on courses that were going to change my life. One of these was a hypnotherapy course. And then when the hypnotherapy business wasn't going too well, I then bought a business course specifically for hypnotherapists. Never finished it. Didn't want to do hypnotherapy anymore. Absolutely not the one. So what was the moment that made me sit down and think something's got to change? Well, I was in the gym. I'm a big podcast girly. I love podcasting. I work in podcasting in my day job. And I was listening to a podcast called The Vault by the ladies at Financial. They are fantastic, and I owe my entire money journey to them. And they're very, very straight talking girls. They're from the north. And one of them was like, who do you think is going to come and sort out this debt? Who's coming? You know, it's all fun and games while you're clicking pay here, tap, credit card pay there. Who is going to pick up the pieces? Who's going to pick up the pieces if you can't work anymore because of an illness or an injury? Who's going to pick up the pieces when you want to retire and you've got this constant credit card bill that needs paying in addition to your rent, in addition to your household bills, in addition to you living your life? And as I mentioned, I do feel like I'm a bit of a self-development girly. So I was like, it's okay. The money will come to me. I will manifest it. I don't know how it's coming, but it's coming. And I just kind of had to sit there and was like, yeah, but who's going to make that money come? I am. And if I'm just spending it all the time, then what? Then how's this debt ever going to get paid off? So I sat there in the gym looking like I'm about to have a mental breakdown. I mean, I was probably having a miniature mental breakdown, to be honest with you, regretting every single purchase I've ever made in my life up until that point. It was the beginning of the next chapter of my life. And we're going to delve into exactly how I managed to pay down £11,000 worth of debt in 10 months. So I think it's worth saying that also when I was having this moment at the gym, I didn't know how much debt I was in because I was so used to just tapping it on here, tapping it on there, and then I'd pay a little bit off this credit card, I'd pay a little bit off this Monzo Flex, and I just had no idea how much debt I was in. So I went home and I ran the numbers, and I realised that I had racked up 11,000, in fact it was more than 11,000, I think it was about 11,200-ish pounds in debt, and I was like, holy moly. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay this off? And how have I let myself get to this point? Because I had an ex-boyfriend, right? And he told me that he had £3,000 on a credit card. And I was like, oh my God, he's in debt. That's so bad. And then my friend had a boyfriend who said that he was £6,000 in debt. And I saw these people as in debt, right? I think one of the key points here is that it's so easy now to put absolutely everything on credit. You can put an Uber Eats on credit, for God's sake. Like, one burrito, yeah, I'll pay that in 3, thank you. And it's so easy to rack it up. And it just is not positioned as debt. And I was like, I'm in debt. I'm £11,000 in debt. I'm more in debt than both of those ex-boyfriends put together that me and my friend had. So how has this been able to happen? And what the hell am I going to do to get out of it? So let's jump into 5 of the ways I got myself out of £11,000 worth of debt. Okay, number 1 is to set a budget. And you're going to go, oh, Hannah, I don't want to set a budget. I don't even know what a budget is. Budgeting sounds boring. And you know what? The thing is, budgeting, I hate that word. It is not sexy, is it? Like, you don't want to be like, oh yes, I'm in charge of my own budget. It sounds very middle-aged corporate vibes. But when you realise that the budget is the key that will unlock your goals, then all of a sudden, we can do a bit of budgeting. We don't mind doing a bit. So the first thing you need to do, or the first thing that I did, was I went over my last 2 months' expenses. And how I did this was I literally printed out my bank statement. I had a couple of highlighters, and I'm not going to lie to you, a couple of glasses of rosé, because I was like, this bitch needs to prepare to face her demons. And I went through all the money that had come in and all the money that had gone out over those 2 months. I want to just highlight that I did the month separately, but I did 2 months to account for any anomalies. So what you can do is you can split it into categories. I split it into essential bills, fun money, which accounted for things like clothes, meals out, that sort of thing, subscriptions, top-up shops, which was a harrowing discovery. I found out that I was spending £250 a month on, just pop into the shop. You're not popping to the shop, you're going away from your goals. What was my other category? I can't remember now, hang on. Let me have a little look on my budget. See, this is the thing. Your budget honestly becomes like your little sidekick. I will look at my budget several times a day just to see where money's going, where I've spent it today. Am I on track for where I want to be for the month? How much more do I have in that category each month? So hair and beauty. I also had a coffee category because honestly, I really value my coffee. I don't smoke, I don't really drink that much. So making sure that you have those little bits in your budget for fun is incredibly important because we also want to stay motivated on our journey. And don't miss anything out. It has to be a complete overview of what you're spending your money on each month. So once you've done that, separate them into categories. And is there anything that shocks you? Is there anything where you think, oh my God, I had no idea that I was spending £47 a month on, I don't know, giving to the Happy Staffy Foundation? Whatever it is. Not saying that the staffies don't deserve your money, but you get what I mean. Is there any categories that are shocking to you? And you need to see whether there is anything left in between what you earn and what you spend each month. Now, if there isn't anything left at all and you're actually using credit for cash flow, which is actually what I was doing, I'd be using the credit card to suffice my lifestyle. And this is where step number 2 comes in. You got to cut it down, bitch. You've got to cut down that budget. You need to make sure that you are making your money go towards your growth. It's going towards places where you want it to go. And in this case, we want it to go towards that big debt figure that you've got that you want to pay down. So it really depends on your mindset. You can view it as, oh no, I can't do this anymore because I'm saving to pay down my debt. Or you can view it as, hey, we've got a challenge on our hands and we're going to smash this challenge, which is the way that I approached it. And actually, it became kind of fun and it became a little bit addictive. The dopamine rush that I used to get from buying stuff that I didn't need and impulse purchases, you get from watching that debt scale slide down and know that your net worth is sliding up. If you want to know more about net worths that I just mentioned, take a look at the podcast in the show notes by Financial, and they explain exactly what a net worth is and how to work yours out too. So for this fun little challenge, what we're going to do is we're going to look at any areas where you can cut spending from. Does this mean going without brand new clothes for 3 months? Does this mean only having free coffees? Does it mean kind of like downloading apps and you can only justify a coffee to yourself when you've had it for free or a discounted rate? Does this mean not going out as often? Does this mean seeing your friends on free activities only? And do you know what some people do, which I love, and I wish that I personally got on this? having exercise as one of their free hobbies. So they take up time by going for a walk with friends, going for a run with friends, doing a home workout. That would be one of their time fillers, because we spend when we're bored. We're on the sofa watching Netflix, but we're also scrolling on Temu or Amazon. I've come for Amazon a lot today, but I mean, Jeff Bezos has too much money anyway, so sorry, Amazon. And you just think, oh yeah, I'll get that. I'll get this. I'll get that. Oh, I'll get that in 2 sizes just in case it doesn't fit. And 9 times out of 10, that little rush of excitement to distract you from your boredom has worn off by the time the parcel arrives and you've already ordered something else or you're already buying something else. So what we're doing is we're filling up that boredom time with free activities that A, not only save you money because you're not out spending money, but also B, you're not bored, you're doing stuff, so you're not going to be spending money mindlessly on impulse purchases on your phone. Step 3 is probably what I would owe the majority of my debt pay down to. And I sold everything. I literally sold everything that I could without kind of putting myself into major inconvenience. So anything around the house, I mean, my husband was hating it because we had a speaker that I won ages and ages ago. We used it when we were cooking in the kitchen. That went £250 there towards the debt. I have a motorbike, or I had a motorbike. Not gonna lie, I miss that so much, so I will probably set up a savings pot to buy another one. But I just used it in the summer, so I was using this vehicle for like 2 or 3 months a year, because fuck me, like a British summer, you cannot bet on that for love nor money. So I was riding this motorbike for 3 or 4 months a year. I was taxing it and insuring it for the whole year just in case it got stolen out my parents' garage. And I was like, this just makes no sense. It was with a really heavy heart and knowing that it was a temporary sacrifice to get rid of the motorbike. So that was 2.5 grand that came back in, plus the savings that I would have made on insurance and tax for it as well. I also hit Vinted, we all know about this one, but also just seeing what you can do. What I found was the more stuff I sold, the more my eyes were open to what could be sold, if that makes sense. I had a shelf full of books. I went on We Buy Any Books or WeBuyBooks.com or whatever it's called. Scanned all the barcodes, easy 50 quid there. I had so many. Done, sorted, and you're decluttering as well at the same time. I even took this to the point of the very first debt that I paid down was my phone contract, and I had about £800 remaining on that. So I actually sold the phone that the finance was on and got £600 for it, used that money to go towards it, found the £200 myself, and went back to using an old phone that I had in the drawer, and I'm still using that now. You might go, oh my god, Hannah, that's completely extreme, like I don't want to sell all that stuff. Then don't. You don't have to do it. But this is the way that I got £11,000 paid down in 1 year. And I just want to kind of jump in here to say, why did I do it in such a short period of time? Because I wanted this debt pay down journey, I wanted this debt pay down challenge to be as short as possible. I didn't want to spend the rest of my 20s trying to budget so strictly that I had to just do free activities with my friends, that I had to say no to things that I really wanted to do. I wanted that debt pay down journey to be as short as possible, because the shorter it is, the quicker you can start moving towards the big goals, things like buying a property, maybe buying a car, having a child, although to be honest, I don't know why anybody would want one of those. They just seem a pain. But anyway, that big holiday that you've been looking forward to, maybe that course that you want to educate yourself more with, the quicker that debt is paid down, the quicker you can move towards those goals. And sorry if this sounds extreme or a little bit strict, but that's how I did it. And at the end of the day, that's what got results. Number 4 is accountability. Now, they say that you are the product of the people that you surround yourself with. And I don't have that many friends in real life that are into finances. And I think as well, being British, we're very much about, we don't talk about money. It's a huge taboo, and it shouldn't be. Anyway, we're not going to go down that route today of British culture and taboos. But we are going to talk about surrounding yourself with people that are going to enable you on your finance journey. I only started this account and I only started this podcast after I became debt-free. And that's the easy thing to do. It's easy to sit down and say, hey guys, look what I've done. This was amazing. But actually during the journey itself, I made sure that my husband knew exactly about my debt journey. I made sure that my closest friends knew, and they knew why I was saying no to stuff more than I was saying yes to stuff, or if I was suggesting things for free. And I also joined an online finance community in the Financial app. And quite honestly, that community is almost like Alcoholics Anonymous for people that want to pay down debt. They're there in the middle of the night when you're about to buy an e-bike for £500 when you're meant to be on a debt pay down journey. Absolutely talking about a friend, not talking about me. No, that's not me. Having that support system around you is going to give you those constant reminders. They're going to make things easier for you. They're going to understand if you want to dip out of something. And if they're not doing that, then quite honestly, they're not the people that you want to surround yourself with during this journey. If you say to, say, your best friend, look, like, I'm on this journey, I've really got myself into a little bit of trouble, or not even trouble, but a place that I'm uncomfortable with in my debt, then if they turn around and say, well, sorry, we're going to go to fucking London and have 7 cocktails that's going to set you back £200, they are not the person you want around you, especially for this journey. So just bear that in mind. Another way that you can hold yourself accountable if you're more of an introverted type is maybe doing a journal, or maybe doing a diary or a habit tracker, anything like that where you can keep yourself accountable. There's so many fantastic habit tracker apps or journal apps that will send you a prompt for the day. Set your prompt as a quote that's inspired you, or as the number that's left to pay down on your debt. Anything that's going to hold you accountable and stand as a reminder for your journey, that's the way to fucking do it. And last but not least, step number 5 is to hack your brain into making this journey enjoyable, fun, giving yourself those dopamine hits. One of the best things that I did was tracking my successes and tracking how far it was for me to pay down that debt. There are so many templates online, like debt templates or budget templates. Being able to see where you are on your journey versus your goal is fantastic and is so motivating. And yeah, okay, at the beginning, you might think, oh my God, I'm absolutely ages away. And if you actually find it a little bit demotivating, the journey that you have to go on between where you are now and your debt pay down date, split it up. Say, for example, you have one big £10,000 credit card, split it into 4 2,500s, section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, and celebrate those wins. Not necessarily with like buying yourself an item like you might have done in the past, but go out for a dinner with friends. Maybe treat yourself to a manicure or pedicure that's had to be banished from the budget during this debt pay down period. Another way to absolutely hack your own system is paying down your debt with the snowball method. Now, what this means is that you pay off the smallest debt first and work your way up to the largest debt, meaning that you are getting those dopamine hits every single time you pay down a debt. And this is what I personally did, because your girl is a zillennial. Her dopamine has been capitalized on by social media since she was 14, okay? So I needed those dopamine hits. Some people use what we call the avalanche method. Now, the avalanche method is most mathematically, it saves you the most money in interest, because what you do is you pay off the debts in order of the highest interest first. My advice personally would be to do a one-time balance transfer of all your credit onto one card. And then you've got no interest for a set period, and set your debt pay down timeline across that period, or less if you want to smash it out the park. Now, I know that it's like, but Hannah, that's taking out another credit card. Yes, you're completely correct. The minute that you receive that credit card in the post and your debt has transferred over to it, so all your other credit cards are empty, they're closed down, and your entire debt is at 0% interest on this new card, chop the card up. I love Confessions of a Shopaholic. You know, when she's frozen her credit card quite literally in the block of ice. We're going to have to go more extreme for that, because you could just defrost it and use it again. You're going to snip it up, you're going to chuck it away, throw it in the bin, whatever. I mean, obviously set up your app and everything first so you've got access to it to pay it off. But worst comes to the worst, if you need to access that card for any reason and they need the long card number, you can just ask for a new card from the bank. I don't know how the banks are going to feel about me saying this, to be honest with you, but they make enough money out of us, don't they, in these debt payments? So there we go. So Guys, that is the 5 ways. I mean, I have so many other tips and tricks that we'll be sharing throughout the podcast series, but those are the 5 ways that I managed to pay down £11,000 worth of debt within 10 years. 10 years? Definitely not 10 years, 10 months. All right, guys, that is a wrap for episode number 1 of the Finance Ham podcast. Let me know what you thought. Drop me a message on Instagram or TikTok. I'm at the Finance Ham. Tell me if you enjoyed it. Tell me if I should never record an episode ever again. Tell me if there's any specific topics you want to talk about, any guests that you want on, because we've already got a fantastic lineup, but I'm always all ears. And remember, guys, your financial future is in your hands, so go and make some money moves. Thanks for listening to the Finance Ham podcast. See you next time.